On May 20, 2026, at Google I/O, Demis Hassabis walked on stage and did something unusual. He made Google's most capable free model better than its flagship paid tier. Gemini 3.5 Flash, a lightweight model designed for speed and efficiency, now outperforms Gemini 3.1 Pro on the majority of public benchmarks. Not by trivial margins on cherry-picked tasks, across reasoning, code generation, multimodal understanding, and instruction following. The model is available today at no cost in AI Studio, Android Studio, Gemini Enterprise, and a platform Google calls Antigravity. That last name raised eyebrows. We'll get to it. Let's be specific. According to Google's published technical report and third-party evaluations appearing within days of launch, Gemini 3.5 Flash outperforms 3.1 Pro on MMLU Pro, scoring approximately 84.2 versus 81.7. On human eval code generation, it reaches 91.4 compared to Pro's 88.9. On Math 500, Flash posts 89.1 against Pro's 86.3. On GPQA Diamond, graduate-level science reasoning, Flash edges ahead by roughly 2 points. Where does Pro still win? Long context retrieval beyond 500,000 tokens and certain niche multimodal video tasks. But for the vast majority of developer and enterprise workloads, Flash is now the superior model, and it costs nothing at the API level for standard rate limited access. How did Google pull this off? The answer is architectural. Gemini 3.5 Flash uses an advanced mixture of experts design, reportedly activating only a fraction of its total parameters per query. Google hasn't disclosed the full parameter count, but independent analysts estimate the model runs between 30 and 50 billion active parameters per forward pass, drawn from a much larger total. This is the same fundamental strategy behind Mixtral and earlier switch transformers, but refined considerably. The result, dramatically lower inference cost per token, faster response times, Google claims sub-200 millisecond first token latency, and critically, training efficiency gains that allowed the model to absorb more high-quality data per compute dollar than 3.1 Pro consumed during its cycle. Speed and cost aren't academic advantages. They reshape what's architecturally possible. In agentic workflows, where a model plans, executes, observes, and iterates autonomously, every step involves an inference call. A model that's 3 to 5 times cheaper and twice as fast per call doesn't just save money. It makes multi-step chains practical that were previously too slow or too expensive to deploy. Google demonstrated this directly at I/O, showing 3.5 Flash completing a 14-step coding task, reading a codebase, identifying a bug, writing a fix, running tests, interpreting failures, revising, and ultimately submitting a passing pull request. The entire sequence took under 90 seconds. With 3.1 Pro, the same workflow reportedly took over 4 minutes and cost roughly 6 times more in compute.
For mobile developers, the integration into Android Studio is immediately significant. Gemini 3.5 Flash now powers inline code completion, context-aware debugging, and what Google calls project-aware refactoring, where the model understands your full project structure, not just the open file. Because Flash is free at standard usage tiers, individual developers and small teams get access to capabilities that previously required a Gemini Enterprise subscription. This is a deliberate strategic move. Google wants Flash to become the default model developers reach for, not as a compromise, but as the first choice. The most cryptic element of the announcement is Google Antigravity. Details remain sparse. What Google has confirmed, Antigravity is a platform for deploying AI agents that operate across Google Cloud services, combining model inference with tool use, persistent memory, and access to enterprise data sources. Think of it as Google's answer to the agent hosting infrastructure race, competing with OpenAI's Operator Framework and Anthropic's Claude agent platform. Gemini 3.5 Flash serves as the default model within Antigravity, and its speed makes it particularly suited for the rapid iterative loops that agent architectures demand. Whether the name is a playful nod to ambition or something more, Google hasn't said. This matters because of what it does to the competitive landscape. OpenAI's GPT-4.1 Mini and Anthropic's Claude 4 Haiku occupy the fast and cheap tier, but neither claims to outperform its own maker's flagship model. Google has broken that hierarchy. When your free tier outperforms your paid tier on most benchmarks, the conversation about model selection changes fundamentally. Enterprise teams evaluating AI providers now face a straightforward question. Why pay for a model that loses to a free alternative on the tasks you actually run? OpenAI and Anthropic won't have responses, likely accelerated release timelines for their own next-generation models. But for the next 3 to 6 months, Google has a structural advantage that's difficult to dismiss. For engineering leads and product teams making model decisions right now, the calculus is clear but deserves nuance. If your workload involves standard code generation, document analysis, structured reasoning, or agentic task completion under 500,000 tokens of context, Gemini 3.5 Flash is now the rational default. It's free, it's faster, it benchmarks higher than the model you are probably paying for. The caveats are real. Rate limits on the free tier will constrain high-throughput production systems. Long context performance still favors Pro, and benchmark scores don't always predict domain-specific quality. Test on your own data, but start with Flash. Zoom out. What Google has demonstrated isn't just a product launch. It's a pricing and capability signal that accelerates the entire industry's trajectory toward commoditized intelligence.
When the best model in a lineup is also the free one, the value proposition shifts from the model itself to the platform, the tooling, the ecosystem surrounding it. Google is betting that giving away the best model drives adoption of Cloud, Android Studio, and Antigravity, where the real revenue lives. That bet might be right, and if it is, every other AI lab will face pressure to follow. The age of the expensive default model may be ending, not gradually, now.